Hello, everyone. My name's Keenan. Welcome to the September 23rd, 2021 community call. Today, we're going to be chatting about DXdAo's goals, plans, and involvement in ETH Online, the upcoming proposed Dxd Buyback Extension, and an open discussion on the upcoming second swapper token epoch changes. Without further ado, we'll start with the ETH Online goals and plans. Sky, if you want to kick us off.
Yes. So I'm just gonna put this link in. So DXdao community in the last couple weeks decided to partake in its first ever ETH Global event, and ETH Global ETH Global in 2021 has been running online hackathons, which basically last like 3 to 4 weeks each. Historically, they were known for doing in-person smaller or shorter time period hackathons all around the world, and which are widely attended and quite successful in their goal of bringing new people into the space. And so during COVID times, they've been doing online hackathons. They've had already a handful this year, and then this ETH Online, which runs from September 17th to October 15th, is actually ETH Global's biggest event of the year. And there's a schedule for the first week is when hackers come in, and so typically these hackathons get between like 500 and 700 different hackers all from all around. And for this event, they're expecting over 1,000 hackers. And so there's a kind of a rough schedule of the projects as sponsors sharing in the first week, about yourself. I posted a link that is an overview of DXdao that John was able to make, and it's a good thing for new people to watch and kind of get a really big, broad overview of DXdao and its products and what they could potentially hack on, and then like people end up forming teams and then have like 2 to 3 weeks to actually hack on things, and so often we'll end up building things that are more impressive and more promising than what comes out of like weekend 48-hour hackathons. So that's super cool. And there's a lot of projects that have already come out of these hackathons that have then gotten some funding and have become real projects. And so in this scenario, DXdao, its main goals it has a few different goals for this. And there's been kind of a focus of 3 of DXdao's products, which is Omen, Swapper, and DXvote, which are kind of the 3 main product priorities currently. And so the prize that DXdao is supplying is basically for anyone to build or hack on something that improves or builds on like one of those product ecosystems or potentially connects them. And so at the same time, DXdao has a goal to like get awareness of DXdao. So there's lots of big name sponsors that are regular participants in ETH Global events, and now DXdao is right there alongside them, and you can go check out the showcase.ethglobal.com page and see the relevant links and the prizes and the video for DXdao right alongside like ENS and Ethereum Foundation and things like that. And so our goal would be to build awareness of DXdao, hopefully get some cool hacks out of it and new interesting ideas that could improve and build on our products. But then I'd say like the number one goal is to attract these 1,000 developers. There's obviously going to be like, probably 80% of them are, may not be right, but 20% of them might be right for working and starting to contribute to DXdao. So attracting those, sharing kind of the ethos of DXdao. All the entire events taking place in the ETH Global Discord. DXdao contributors have certain roles that give access to the channels as a contributor, but hackers and other participants and also other sponsors and things can come in and join discussions in those channels. So I ask everyone to be a part of that, and everyone, even community, can join in on this as well, and share different ideas or different things about products, or different maybe your own story about how you found DXdao, or why you like contributing or working in the DXdao community. So any of that to make it more personal and attract developers, at least to give a look at DXdao. If we end this hackathon and everyone, and most of the developers now know what DXdao is, and they're like, wow, DXdao, oh, they just launched Swapper on Arbitrum and they're doing some really cool stuff, and they do it all as like a true DAO. If that's what a lot of people come away thinking, and they start paying attention and get involved, that would be, I think, a win. And so this is our first experiment with ETH Global events, and if it goes well, we have the opportunity to like become a regular sponsor in their ecosystem, where you have the ability to sponsor all of their events over like the course of a year. So that's kind of the overview and the goals. If there's any questions or new ideas, yeah, it would be cool if communities like shared ideas or memes or anything to like grow the awareness of DXdao participating in this event, and make sure everyone knows about it.
Yeah, thank you, Sky. For anyone that's new and or has taken part of our other community calls, this is a stage channel now. So to speak, you'll have to click the raise your hand. Any contributor is able to accept those requests. So anyone that would like to speak is welcome to do so. Just click the join the stage button at the bottom. That being said, I do have obviously some questions left with me prior, and we can start with that if we don't get any requests here. For you, Sky, I guess you kind of addressed this, but just for programming's sake, how can the DXdao community support ETH Global and other events?
Yeah, like community. So community in general, I think most of these hackers, well, like specifically for this hackathon, I think most of these hackers, a lot of them are students or younger people working in non-blockchain industries that are participating in ETH Global Hackathon first-time events in order to like learn about Ethereum, learn about the culture, see all the interesting stuff that's happening. And so it's making the jump from not working in the space to wanting to and working in the space is often a big decision for people. And obviously many people here that have made that leap. And so helping any of these people, no matter what project they come work for, this is like one of the biggest obstacles that blockchain and Ethereum has, is getting people to come work in the Web3 space. And that can be marketers, that can be creators, that can be coders, that can be anything. And so anything we can do to help bring them over will make the space succeed even more. And so obviously it's awesome if they come and contribute to DXdao and build something new and awesome for DXdao's products, but it's also really important in general. So having the entire community participate and in the conversation, and that can be in the DXdao channels on ETH Global, that can be in our own Discord, and helping out will benefit the overall ecosystem and DXdao ecosystem, I think.
Thank you, Sky. I do have one more left with me. As I mentioned, anyone's welcome to speak up. You can also ask questions in the Mothership text channel, and we can answer them here. Last one from me. What is the next big event for DXdao?
Sounds like a setup, but after this virtual hackathon, which lasts for this month and actually goes into October, DXDAO's next big focus, which has a little bit of overlap, is ETH Lisbon Week, and that includes an internal DXDAO retreat, but then also LizCon, some DXDAO specific events, some DXDAO sponsored parties, some sponsorship of the Daoists and other events, and then there's ETH Lisbon Hackathon, which will be which DXdao will be participating, I think, in a couple ways of actually maybe hacking, but also supporting hackers as well. So everyone's excited for more in-person events. Obviously, there's been a couple that have happened with ETH Paris, and then MCon just happened in the Denver area, which was a very DAO-centric event that a lot of people loved. And yeah, I think in-person events will continue to pick up now that ETH Global is still doing only online events, but I think in 2022 they'll start doing in-person events as well, which is great to hear.
Excellent. Thank you, Sky. Any final questions here for ETH Online, ETH Global discussion? Excellent. Not seeing any chatter. We can move along here. Next up on our agenda is the Dxd Buyback Extension. Welcome, Chris, to the stage, your grand entrance here. If you want to shine some light on the proposals that went live a couple days ago.
Yeah, thanks. Great. It's good to be up here. So just a kind of updates that if you've been following on the Discord or the calls the last couple weeks. So the second buyback extension proposal is set to pass in 2 days. So that would authorize another $1 million in purchases. This proposal also gives some additional specifics on the amount of ETH that's been spent so far. It's about 750 ETH that's bought back 5,230 DXD. And so that proposal is set to pass on Saturday, and we actually have already started submitting the proposals that will eventually pass once that proposal is executed. The one other, so just broadly, this extension really just does another $1 million. Everything else is the same. So it maintains the same 25% buy. So the daily buy can be up to 25% of the average daily trading volume, as well as slippage tolerance up to 5%. The interesting thing that's happened lately with Swapper's launch on Arbitrum is there's been a pretty noticeable increase in DXD volume, and I just pasted a chart in the mothership text. And so this is DXD volume 7-day trailing over, I think, the last 4 months, ever since the buyback program has been going on. You can see how volume has shifted and across the different platforms or different dexes, and you can see at the end there we have the Swapper Arbitrum launch with a huge increase in DXD volume, and I think we're really doing about like $100,000 a day in volume the last couple of days there. So that has increased the average daily trading volume a little bit. We used a 3-month average, so it will take like a couple more days and weeks for that for the increase to permeate into the average, but that will lead to a slightly larger buyback size. And then, that's kind of the program will continue on Xdao. We have kind of been working pretty effectively there, but we are working on other ways to execute this, both in terms of having a more general relayer that doesn't necessarily rely on the Gnosis Protocol v1 and Mesa to execute the trades. And then secondly, maybe thinking about moving it to a different chain to do it, kind of in maybe possibly Arbitrum. But that's more in the medium term. And for now, everything will be going as it's happening on Xdao. It will continue doing that for this next $1 million buybacks. Any thoughts, questions, comments?
Yeah, just thank you for the recap for sure. Last time I'll mention it as I see we have more people flowing in. Anyone's welcome to raise their hand and hop on the stage, and any contributor is able to accept those requests for someone entering the stage. I do have a couple questions here if we don't receive any live, starting with, and you did kind of address this, but just again for programming. How exactly is the buyback going to function on Xdao? Will it instead be moved to Arbitrum due to low liquidity?
Yeah, and this is Yeah, this question and kind of thinking about this, it does show how DXdao needs to balance a couple different things, right? So DXdao has been building and working on Swapper for a long time, and its success is incredibly important to DXdao. And so we're trying to do kind of all we can to do that from a pure DAO perspective. At the same time, we have this buyback that we're trying to institute, and with the buyback, there is some restrictions on what an entity like DXDAO can do in terms of repurchasing things. And a lot of this is because it's very hard for, we want to be able to set limit orders really, is really what kind of needs to happen in order to execute this. And really there aren't very many exchanges, decentralized exchanges that we can use. And so we're kind of limited in that. And that's why we're doing the buyback on Xdai, because the Gnosis Protocol v1 is the only really system that we have that we can use to execute that right now. And Gnosis Protocol v1 is actually only running on Xdai right now. So our hands are tied a little bit with that. But strategically, I think Xdai does not necessarily need to have the largest DXD ETH pool. So when we're thinking about swapper rewards, I think Arbitrum and Mainnet are much more important. Having said that, there is some reliance on the DXD WETH pool for the buyback because it's used as an oracle. So yeah, just a couple different things that we have to balance across the different chains. And I think long term, I think that long-term strategically kind of look at where DXdao is right now in terms of the bases, the products, and where we are. Like Mainnet, Arbitrum 1, and Xdai are pretty different types of environments. And I think those environments are market segments that will grow into the future. I think side chains are still going to be the cheapest way for people to kind of try things out. They're not going to be secure, but there will still be trading and activity there. So I think it's important that Swapper and DXdao are active there. Whereas like Arbitrum is definitely like that's the big growth opportunity in terms of large liquidity pools and maintaining the security of Ethereum. And so just kind of balancing all of those things is a little bit of a challenge. But I think DXdao is the only one of the few entities facing that challenge because we're the only ones that have kind of encountered this multi-chain world so far. Roundabout answer.
Excellent. Thank you. Got another one here. Got my eyes on the chat as well. Any questions can go in the text chat. Will Swapper token be considered as a treasury asset for buyback purposes?
I mean, like the short answer is no. Like right now, I don't think there's any plans to do that because it's kind of hard to view it as a treasury asset considering it had just been launched. But I think long term, I do see the value of the treasury and DXD as needing to be like closely aligned, and so we'll have to figure out a way for that to happen. And I think that's the evolution of the buyback and what's kind of classified and how that's governed. I think will determine that, but I don't think there's anything on the immediate front to do something like that.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, definitely worth noting that the distribution has to go through DXdao governance. So the DXdao treasury actually has more than its 50 million allocation currently, which definitely skews the numbers of what we should be looking for. I have one more question here left with me. Checking the channels. What are the plans for the repurchase DXD? Burning, redistributing, etc.?
Yeah, so right now the DXD, there's some DXD that's been repurchased that's in DXdao. There's about like 1,200 DXD that's in the GP relayer on mainnet, and then the remaining, which I think is about like 2,500, 3,000 DXD is in the GP relayer contract on Xdai. That is where it is now. It can be returned to the DAO at any time. We have to do 2 proposals to do so, and they have to be timed in a pretty unique way. So we have to. It does take some planning to get that actually back, but Right now, there really isn't any plan for it besides the DXD is in DXDAO's treasury, and there's already DXD from DXDAO's the DXD pre-mint that DXdao controls. Obviously, DXD has been used to pay contributors. That's primarily been the big use case of the treasury, but maybe in the future it can be used for strategic partnerships, maybe liquidity provisioning. And yeah, but in the meantime, the only thing it's being used for now really is contributor payments.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. Any final questions on the buyback here? We do have a question from Spicy Soup that we can have as an interlude before we talk about the swapper farming changes. Checking for raised hands. Going once, going twice. Cool. We got a quick question here from OX Spicy Soup. There was something mentioned last week about a proprietary swapper / DXdao bridge being one of the projects being worked on. Can you share more on this? Actually, probably a good one for you, Zet, if you are here currently.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, so we're actually building similar to what the Echo routing is. If you guys are familiar with that, we're connecting multiple bridges into one layout, one UI. I think this is something I actually predicted almost half a year ago. I said the more bridges we're gonna have, the more confusions will be what difference is, and I think also it open up scams or whatever. So there's a lot of issues with the bridges, and some of them actually like experience issues. So we designed one, and we are building the MVP to be Arbitrum only for now, and it will be the official bridge of Arbitrum inside of Swapper with our own UI. And in the future, we'll add more and more bridges, which basically makes this like a all-in-one bridge that will take care of multiple networks, multiple different partners. So see this as like a 1 inch of bridges, right? Yeah, that's a pretty good explanation actually. And the MVP, we have a team working on it, and I would say, I don't want to say dates. Usually when I say date, it takes at least 2 weeks more. So, but soon, right? The MVP will basically be the Arbitrum bridge with the new UI on Swapper, and I think we can have this really soon.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Seth. Excellent. Just transitioning here into our third and I guess last but not least, Swapper farming second epoch changes. The Swapper squad has been hard at work monitoring the successes and shortcomings of the initial epoch of Swapper release, and has come up with a shortened plan. Obviously, this is going to go to form after this call, and everything is open to discussion. So nothing is currently set in stone. This will have to go through DXdao governance as well. But maybe a good opportunity to share an image here. Let's see. Should be in the chat now. There we go. So these are obviously our focus changes on the Arbitrum network, more on XDAI and mainnet to come. The big things you'll notice, obviously, is that DAI has launched, and we have a new, smaller allocation area for Arbitrum-specific ecosystem pairs. You'll notice a couple of familiar faces there if you've been playing around the Arbitrum ecosystem the last week or two. We had to move some of our allocations around based on a number of performance factors, which I will also share here. Not as much of a visual, but I will grab a screenshot of this as well to make it easy. This will also be going on forum, of course. So we've been doing some on-chain data analysis, taking a look at the pairs, numbers, what is working, what isn't working, and maybe a good time to go through the epoch individually. We obviously moved the DAI allocation. We do have something to discuss there on the forum, is that we have 10% unallocated from the first epoch and the potential to utilize some of that for the DAI side. We moved down some of our original ecosystem pairs based on their performance, Link still being the largest pair with Curve following shortly behind. And obviously some smaller percentage changes that may or may not notice depending on which pools you are interested in. A big glaring thing here is the IBBTC and Badger pools, and maybe a good time for Sky to shed some light on what exactly is going on there.
Can you just repeat the last part? The Badger, you said?
Yeah, so in Epoch 2, there's an allocation of a larger allocation to IBBTC and Badger ETH pools. Maybe a quick introduction to what exactly might be happening there.
Yeah, so Badger, I mean, most people are probably aware of Badger ecosystem. It's been, spreading Bitcoin into DeFi, basically, mainly on Ethereum, but also some other ecosystems. And they have, like, in general, they have an interest to spread it, wherever interest is. And with Arbitrum launch as the first kind of open and free, mostly free layer 2 using rollups, there's a focus on bringing WBTC or BTC products over to Arbitrum. And often the Badger ecosystem will do collaborations with projects in the token trading, AMM DEX space, various different projects to come up with like a strategy that will help accomplish the mission of bringing liquidity and both parties benefiting from that. So yeah, there are ongoing discussions with people from the Badger ecosystem. The exact details are not yet determined, but we are including Badger related tokens in our next epoch, like draft of an epoch. It's not official and it's not passed, but that's what we've come up with so far. And then there's the possibility of also having, I think we can try to figure this out quickly. But if both parties are interested, there is always option of using some additional strategic swapper token if we think we can, if we need more, or we have a strategic goal that we want to achieve. And so we, in general, are the community is monitoring what's happening on Arbitrum and what projects are interested in Arbitrum and swapper pools. And so we're always open in general to talking with those projects and potentially including those projects in our upcoming epochs. And so these are strategic reasons for doing this. And alongside that, it likely will hopefully come with strong marketing, and which would also grow awareness of DXdao and Swapper and what we're doing on Arbitrum. And so there's a balance between figuring out how much to commit versus what the DXdao, Swapper, DXD ecosystem will be getting out of it. And so that's kind of a big overview. There's some deeper details, but I'll save that for another time probably.
Yeah, thank you, Sky. I guess one neat thing that I should have called attention to at the start, but for those of you that aren't aware, Swapper is obviously sitting currently around 65 plus million TVL, which is a massive increase over previously. And we also have surpassed, to the best of my knowledge, 15 million volume only a week after the launch of farming, which is incredible. As you may or may not know, this community call falls on the off week of the regular farming schedule. So, for example, the next epoch will launch exactly at the start of this call next week. So look forward to that. That gives us opportunity on these community calls to discuss the changes that may be coming, discuss what's going on in the actual swapper pools, which is super cool. So look forward to that for future community calls as well. I guess, Chris, since we kind of went through this spreadsheet together, anything that may be glaring that hasn't been touched on here, or any comments from your end?
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of picking up where Sky went, he was talking kind of about the Badger collab, and I think it's a good example of what the opportunity is with Swapper token and how DXdao Swapper community can engage with other communities and build relationships and kind of both at the community level, but also even at the technical level. There's some integration going on there, and I think that's the power. It's something we haven't had in the past. But with the Swapper token out, that's a really big advantage. And I think looking at another possibility, what we are not really in any type of partnership talks with yet, but we maybe could be if we engage the community with some rewards, is two pairs that I think are interesting, are the MIM ETH pair and the Spell ETH pair. So I think the analogy is MIM is a stable coin like DAI, and Spell is the maker token. And so it's a similar system, but they use interest-bearing assets instead of idle collateral. And it's kind of gotten some buzz over the last month or two. And I think more excitingly, they are also making a big push into Arbitrum and are kind of attracting liquidity there. They actually have a couple big sushi pools there. But I think it'd be great to kind of have some swapper rewards to engage that community, kind of maybe see if there be opportunity for a larger partnership. And also because I think the token is going to be traded widely on Arbitrum. So there's some fees opportunity there. So I think that's an example of that. And then there's some other tokens in there just for different reasons. Some are because they have large supply on Arbitrum already, so tokens that have already been bridged over. And then, there are others that are like new projects that are launching on Arbitrum, which I think are very good projects to go after, especially because they tend to see a lot of volume traded in the first 2 days. I think the RB ETH tokens are just going to launch, so hopefully we'll see a lot of volume there. Just always interested in what people think about our potential tokens or pairs to go after, both maybe from here's some interesting communities that would be great partners for Swapper or DXdao, and we can kind of figure out a way to try to direct some rewards there for the next epoch. Or there's some interesting, here's a token that will probably have launch soon and will have a lot of trade volume, and it would be strategically important from a fee perspective to go after it. So I think having the community feedback here is really important.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you very much, Chris.
And also, I love the meme that you just posted. It's like one of my favorite things for Swapper.
Well, I mean, we're fifth largest via TVL on Arbitrum. I think we're obviously, having not been in such a situation before, celebrating quite a bit on our end, and I think moving up that ladder is an expectation. So super fun.
Just to respond to Spicy Soup there, we are keen with Rye, and literally like 30 minutes ago, DXdao just acquired, I think, $780,000 worth of Rye in the DXdao treasury. So we have not talked about that as much from a swapper pool perspective, and maybe that's something we should consider.
I'm not sure, extending an open invite to Dave here if he wants to do a little bit of an informer on the Rye purchase and what that means for us before we move on to open questions.
Get up on the stage. It's easy.
Hello, Dave.
Hello. Well, yeah, I mean, pretty much what Chris just said, right? So this is kind of like our first tranche of Rye. So we passed our Treasury diversification proposal number 3. We'll be acquiring a total of 3 million RAI, if my memory serves me well. And so this is like just shy of 1/3 of that like initial tranche of RAI we're acquiring. And yeah, it's already in the treasury, so we're kind of holding some non-US dollar pegged stable coins, which is quite exciting and supporting a bit the decentralized movement around stable coins in crypto.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you, Dave. We can move on to some questions for swapper farming now. Provided, well, obviously there was no questions about the RAI purchase, any follow-up that we're happy to come back to as well. I guess the first question I have left with me here is when Xdai and mainnet farm? Maybe Chris.
Yeah, we need to transfer the swapper token, and that's a little tricky. And we have, we need to do that. And so not for at least 8 to 9 days, but maybe soon after that would be like a best case scenario.
Right. So it's possible we won't expect those to start on the same day as the Epoch 2 for Arbitrum, but it's coming as soon as feasible.
Yeah, and I think it is important that we kind of do communicate it to people because there is a 7-day withdrawal for Arbitrum, and all the swapper token, of course, is on Arbitrum now. But because the mainnet proposal is at least 8 days, then that will be enough time in between when the proposal is passed before then the campaigns are launched.
And Sir Pinkhog asks, is that going to continue to delay the buyback?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think the pool will be smaller, but I think as long as that pool on Xdai is there, it should be fine. The ARB opportunity isn't there, but I think you can submit them at a higher slippage tolerance, and I think most people that can participate in that can have liquidity on different chains.
Perfect. I have one here. How often should we expect changes to farming pools? What is stopping my pool from disappearing next week? Actually, maybe a good one for me. I think that I guess expect the unexpected is a good term to use, but I think that we're following what the community wants and vocalizes, obviously, in the forum and holder channels, alongside actual on-chain data. For example, a pair getting low TVL for the release of swapper token and volume on that pair as well is not an efficient use of the swapper token release. I wouldn't expect any pool to disappear overnight. There are some pools, for example, in Epoch 2 that have been rounded down and slowly dampened based on their effectiveness so far. But I wouldn't say to expect any pools to just up and disappear, and anything should be pretty obvious that it will be being removed. Obviously, this also goes completely through DXdao's on-chain governance, so you could expect that to be voted on and be very clear in the community before anything happens. See a question here from Spicy Soup. When Xdai mainnet swapper farming does start, will they start with Epoch 1 rewards or Epoch 2? And if so, what happens to Epoch 1 rewards that weren't distributed? I guess maybe another good one for me, not sure. Might need an accuracy check. But to the best of my knowledge, they will start on Epoch 1. They will have their own, obviously, Epoch 1 farming start. The allocations are obviously much lower, with 10% of the total rewards of the Epoch each. So it shouldn't be any kind of shock, especially to the supply factor. Otherwise, obviously, we can discuss this in the forum if needed. We can just start from Epoch 2 and add the unallocated first Epoch amount to the existing unallocated amount and go from there. Just conscious that there's a drop-off between Epoch 1 and 2 emissions, which will have implications for circulating supply. if they're Epoch 1, that'd be pushing back the supply drop-off a wee bit, right? Essentially, yes. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm that's technically correct, yes. Cool, guys. I have one more question. Actually, I wrote this one. Where is the best place for swapper holders to share feedback and ideas before the guild implementation? Perhaps Zet. This would be a good one for you.
Yeah. So, what was the question about guild? When is guild coming out?
Where is the best place for swapper holders to share feedback and ideas before the guild implementation?
Before the guild. I mean, we have our own chat on Discord. We read it. The feedback does not go away. If there's like specific feedback about UI, you could talk to me directly. If there's feedback about the pools or anything else, I think you just can post it there in the chat. But I would say the guild will have multiple phases. First phase will actually be a super simplified guild where people that own Swapper can put up proposals and vote on proposals for yes or no signaling. So basically, we could ask the community, should we do this pool? And then the community can answer yes or no. And the same thing, like the community can also ask and say, hey, should we do this or that? So it doesn't always need to be us asking. And we should we should listen to what the swapper holders are voting. This is not the final step of the guild. Obviously, the guild should be on chain, like it should be a real DAO. So for the first step, signal proposals will be done, and I think this will be up really soon. We are exploring two ways to do it. One is snapshot. The other one is actually building our snapshot clone on top of DXvote. But yeah, so for now, I would say Discord or the forum, and really soon you will be able to vote with your swapper.
Just to clarify the forum post portion, Swapper doesn't have its own forum. Swapper utilizes the DXdao forum currently. Obviously, this may change in the future, but referring to the forum that is DXdao forum, DAO Talk, which I have linked.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Keenan.
Cool, guys. Any final questions here for Swapper farming or Epoch 2 changes? Luigi Lemon's going crazy with the memes today.
So maybe I could just say tomorrow we are aiming to do a release for Swapper and for DXstats with some fixes, some improvements on the UI side, and yeah, adding some tokens and new icons for the token. A lot of fixes. It's a pretty big update from the fixing side, and DXstats will also be released, a new version of it. And we're also planning to do one more release actually next week. So yeah, we'll have more and more releases, shorter cycles of releases of Swapper.
Excellent. Thank you, Zet and company. Moving on here, we'll do some open questions. I do have a couple left with me, but this segment is for any questions that may or may not have adhered to one of the topics of today. So I can start us off here. What are the current plans for Omen, Aqua, and Mesa? This was left with me. Probably a bigger question. Maybe John would be the guy. I'm not sure if he's around. Let's see here. Extending an open invite if you happen to be here.
can't find the stage. How to get up on there?
I can't find the stage. Is always throwing me off because the button is like at the top of my screen when I'm like looking at the bottom of my screen at all the other buttons. But could you repeat the question? I was reading something.
Yeah. Open question here. What are the current plans for Omen, Aqua, and Mesa? I think this is very overarching of a question, but maybe a bit on the kind of reprioritization that.
Yeah, I can touch on that. So, I mean, I think the big kind of shift that's happened recently was kind of an adjustment made out of the realization that we were spread too thin, right? So, since early on, DXdao had a lot of ambitions to work on several things. We clearly have the capital to support that. We have plenty of great ideas and great plans, but it has been more difficult than I think we had initially hoped to increase developer capacity and the speed at which we could deliver. And we felt that things were, I think a lot of community members were making the observation that this was kind of hurting us. And so we do have about 10 developers and a few designers and stuff. So we have great capabilities. It's just we were doing a little too much at once. And so we've focused now, the priorities being Swapper and governance. But that does not mean we've abandoned the other products. And we've just chosen this focus on the top priorities, which for now are Swapper and governance. And so the hope is that with some of this momentum that you're seeing get built up around Swapper and all some of the stuff we're doing with governance, that we'll continue to build up the dev capacity and then be able to take on more things at once. And we'll also kind of just move down the priority list. So we intend to eventually launch Aqua. The MVP is more or less ready, and we also plan to continue to develop and support Omen. So the plan really is to grow into the ability to support 4 or 5 or more products at once. But yeah, that's where we are now.
Excellent. Thank you. And sorry for putting you on the spot there.
Yeah, no problem.
I actually have one other question left with me, which I believe was addressed earlier. It's when will Swapper token be listed on CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap? Maybe a good one for me. Our biz dev team's been in touch with them. There was originally some confusion around Arbitrum specific pools. So Swapper wouldn't be implemented because they didn't have support for Arbitrum. This obviously is no longer the case. We have, you can see Sushi and Uni on CoinGecko on Arbitrum. So we're back in touch with them, and I think the process is moving along here. Originally was intrinsic on mainnet or XDAI farms. I'm under the impression we should expect that very soon now. Might need a fact check on that, but I'm assuming that is a process that'll happen quickly here. Cool. That is the questions that have been left with me. Any other open questions here surrounding DXdao, Swapper, products, etc.? Leaving the door open here for a couple of minutes, and we can probably hop off a little early today. Just noticing in the chat, discussion about limit orders, a good call of attention. Swapper has been implemented on 1 inch on Arbitrum, which launched yesterday, which is obviously very, very big, and we're very excited about that. Not sure if there's any further comment on that, but very, very awesome thing that happened yesterday.
Yeah, we could potentially be looking at further automation and support for limit orders through other products like Gelato and Brink. It hasn't really been a focus yet, but I know the Brink team is also going to Lisbon Blockchain Week and stuff, so that might be a good opportunity for us to explore some of the potential there.
Cool. And we have a question from Luigi here. Are there any bounties out there? I assume referring to our involvement with ETH Global. Perhaps Sky
can probably take that one. There is prizes, but I think Sky's going to be able to answer it better.
It is Luigi talking about bounties. So ETH Global, there's like $4,000 in prizes, which can go towards people that are built, like it's pretty general and open, like anyone hacking and building on the DXDAO's products or ecosystem, or bringing like a new novel idea or integration or something. So that's how most ETH Global prizes are, like quite general like that. As hackers come into our channels, this is where like the communication between hackers and contributors and product teams, and like discussing ideas that they're throwing around, and giving them hints, or not hints, but like some like ideas or whatever, and then they can tweak those or whatever. That's the interesting part, to figure out like what people could build or hack on. That's related to ETH Global, so like not like specific I wouldn't even call those bounties. Separately, DXdao, we are also like picking up like advertising for open positions with a handful of different publications and things, and we plan to send people to DXDocs like open positions and bounties page, which is in DXDocs. The bounties section has never really been filled out in a clear, precise manner where people could identify one-off projects that they can work on to like contribute and then receive like a predefined bounty. We want to experiment more with that, but it really comes down to identifying a specific one-off task and an amount of bounty that could be and written that's very clearly exactly what needs to be built, and we could put those on the bounties page, but those things need to be defined in a better way. So we haven't been able to we have done a few bounties around like Dune analytics and things like that in the past, but we haven't been very good at defining one-off projects that a team or a person can go off and build on their own and deliver to DXdao. Most of the stuff we're doing is we need to bring developers in to our product team and get them involved and build it that way. And so if there are specific ideas that can be offloaded through bounties, we should come up with 2 or 3 to start doing that, basically. So bounties, some people think bounties are really helpful. Other people, and this is kind of Vitalik's view, I mean, retroactive funding seems to work better than bounties. Like if people build something that's really useful to DXdao, DXdao will reward that person with retroactive reward. So there's like 2 different ways to do it, but we can try both of them actually.
Yeah, there's some tension there, right? Because there's obviously tons of stuff that can be developed and built, but I think one of the issues that kind of comes up when trying to come up with bounties around product things is that when there's a bounty, you don't have clear commitments from the people that it's going to get done at a certain time. So it's hard to like take pieces and features from the core roadmap and make bounties out of them, right? So yeah, there's always this kind of tricky balance.
I mean, one interesting thing would be, and I don't know how you accomplish this, but like you see what's happening in like the loot ecosystem is someone puts out like a very basic framework idea, and then people just out of interest start building on top of it. Now, they're not getting paid to do that, but if they build and contribute value to that ecosystem, I think that the community will want to reward them to continue doing that. And if that's rewarded, then people will see that and other people will build more stuff onto that community. So it's a very grounds up approach. We would love to have that for DXdao and its products. And the way you do that is, if that does happen, you reward the people. So like if hackers build something and the prize is all full from the hackathon, but we give them other money, right? Like reward them with other money, and people see that, then people will continue to build into the ecosystem because they know that they'll be rewarded for it.
Yeah, and there is precedent for this, right? I mean, that's basically how Sky started working for DXdao, is just by doing things and contributing value, and then he was compensated for that, and it turned into a more full-time endeavor for him. So I would say, from my perspective, there is definitely the appetite and precedent for like rewarding contributions to DXdao. If you do something, if it's contributing to one of the code bases, building something that gets used, doing anything that's valuable to the community, there's a very good chance you will be compensated and recognized for that. Yeah, we do need your services, Pinkhawk. I would support that proposal as well.
Yeah, I agree. I would support a full-time, part-time Pinkhawk ship posting. I think would be very interesting. DX intern. All right, excellent. Thank you, guys. Any other final open questions here, or we can end the call? Going once, going twice. Excellent. Well, thank you, everyone, for attending. Obviously, we have the recap calls bi-weekly. We'll be focusing on the swapper epochs a little more on these calls as well, especially, as I mentioned, they between the each epoch, the week between. So look forward to that, and we'll see you next week, I suppose, for swapper farming. Thank you, everyone.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.